Green.
Here.
Blake.
Here.
Cox. Noted as absent. And Clark. Noted as absent.
Thank you. All right, we'll next move into the voting items. We've got several items to approve tonight. First is the approval of the minutes from the September 17th meeting. Allison, to bring those up. Any questions or comments? Not, I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes as submitted. Thanks, Jackie. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, next up, we've got the September financials. Boyd, once Allison brings that up, any big headlines?
Not any big headlines. It really looks similar to what we did last year. Go ahead and pull up the financials. Looks similar. We've got a couple of places focus, but maybe my eyes are just bad.
No, mine too. You want to take my
Yeah. But really, it's, you know, nothing unexpected. We've got a couple of things that are miscoded. If you go down, it's all kind of in the 20s, which is where you want to see all that stuff. We're getting about to the quarter point. You got this, which is plumbing and HVAC, which is some emergency stuff that we had to have done.
General maintenance.
Yeah, there's just stuff that got, that ran. We didn't have a big budget to begin with. This is a miscoding of that's the tech supplies.
What we covered last month.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all the, I mean, we're in good shape, plenty of cash flow. We're about to get around $1 million deposited in as well from another donation that we got. So good. Yeah, I think that will be preparing a press release on that.
Enrollment.
Enrollment is today was 217. So what we're really seeing is we've been trying to wrap our heads around this, but we've got about 40 10th graders. We've got about 90 11th graders. So it's a pretty big discrepancy there, and we haven't really, we can kind of brainstorm, because what we don't want to see happen is, we intake 40 next year as well. So we don't know if this is an anomaly or what's going on. We're trying to get some strategies to think about. We're hesitant to try to reach out and pull a bunch of kids in right now and really recruit at the quarter, because you're going to have kids trying to come into classes they haven't been at for a whole quarter. But we feel like the semester, so probably about December or so, we're going to just start putting out some announcements on, hey, we're for the second semester, we're still intaking students. But yeah, we aren't sure, what the magic word is there to get our enrollment where it needs to be. But that's where we're holding steady.
Okay. Any questions for Boyd or Allison? Not, is there a motion to approve the September financials? I'll make that motion. For a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. Boyd, statement of assurance.
So we have to do a few of these. We do one around special education as well. And this is just the same assurances that you go through and submit to saying that we're, to the best of our knowledge, that we're in compliance with, all the rules and regulations of the state. And so you have to have like board minutes that you look at this and approve that, and it's been approved. So upload it to the website. We're supposed to be up October 1st, 2019. So a couple weeks behind.
Any questions?
Yeah. I've actually uploaded it already and posted it October 15th on the assumption that you all would approve it. If you don't, then I'll ask them to take it out.
Can I make a motion?
I'll gladly. I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah.
All right. The report to the public.
So this is also another requirement. I'm not sure that we did this to a satisfactory level. last year. In the past, we've done this kind of just little one pager. I started looking at other schools and how they do it. Most of them do it kind of a PowerPoint and then convert that to a PDF. I looked at the different areas that other schools cover, try to cover some of those same areas. And it's just sort of a state of the school and what we're doing and where we're headed. So, Allison, go ahead. And this is our 2019 demographics, our demographic breakdown from last year. You can see it. We're pretty representative of, not necessarily north side, they're a little bit heavier minority than we are, but I think we're pretty representative of this area, and Portsmouth in general. Our subpopulation, ELL, 16%, 10% special education, which is pretty, that's pretty standard. 5% have a 504. And then we're 70% for reduced lunch. This year we're at we're fluctuating between 70 to 73, 74% for reduced lunch. So some of our things we've done within staff and professional development, we did for this school year, we hired an instructional facilitator in Amelie to help with that implementation of PLCs, to start cross-curricular collaboration. One of the other things, Christina, who worked the master schedule this year, she built in shared collaboration time for disciplines. So all English teachers all have a shared planning time together. Social studies teachers have shared planning time together. Math teachers and science teachers. And so that allows them to team and really get together and try to align our curriculum and work on that implementation. We've implemented intervention programs for reading and math. We started these last year. We did a great job with reading, felt great about our reading program and where we were at with it last year, which we'll get into in a little bit, but our test scores reflected that as well on reading. Our math program, we knew it wasn't what it needed to be. The one that we had chosen, we reevaluated that this year and chosen a new math program. We also have implemented actual classes where people are getting these interventions. So they have several different levels. I mean, when you're talking about interventions, you have tier 1, which is just good classroom teaching that's happening. Tier 2 is still happening within that classroom, but it's reteaching, working with small groups, trying to do that. And tier 3 is whenever you're actually kind of pulling kids out. And so we do have a little bit more robust tier 3 interventions than what we've had in the past. We have some actual classes, we have dyslexia services we're providing where kids can be pulled out for that. And so we're really trying to help out the kids that are struggling, because they are coming in with some major deficiencies in both reading and math that some of our students are. And then another thing that we're proud of is our unlicensed, our advisors who do not currently have a teaching license. Part of the professional growth plan, as Allison's sitting down and setting those, is that they're going to start that path towards getting their teaching license. And that's always been our intent. We don't want to dodge around licensure, teacher licensure, but we also don't want that to be a barrier to hiring someone. And that was why we have a little waiver on licensure. So we're moving those teachers towards teacher licensure. And then super exciting, this is Allison, who really cultivated this attitude among our staff. We have 3 teachers who've entered into educational leadership graduate programs, by being one of them. Taylor, Taylor's done, usually I'm singing your praises, Taylor. He's also done tons of stuff, and he's looking at some other licensure areas and some additional things there. But he's taking kind of a year off, because last year was a little crazy for him. He's just trying to go to Panama. He's just trying to go to Panama this year. So, but yeah, we have 3 teachers in ed leadership programs as well. So we really see, I mean, this is one of the things that I've noticed with our staff who stick around, and that we've had some turnover, but our staff who stick around really have a growth mindset, and they really are pushing towards developing their practice, developing themselves, and really modeling what that is to our students to be constant learners, and really pushing that. So I'm really proud of that. Advisories, last year we had 4 advisories for each grade. This was a senior exit survey that we did, and this is our totally non-scientific, but we got to start somewhere, and so we're trying to get a little bit more defined metrics around this, and so a lot of this is qualitative, but within this exit survey that we gave to our seniors, 86% felt supported by the school staff, 88% said the advisor was helpful in providing college and career guidance, 83% enjoyed developing professional skills in the network, 80% are comfortable talking to adults, 82% feel prepared to find employment to support desired quality of life, 78% learn how to use technology effectively, and 73% have identified career interests. So the problem with that is, what does that mean in comparison to other people? We do have, and Trish has, I didn't put it up here because I don't want to really go to like our comparison with the districts, but we do have some metrics that show that in comparable type qualitative questions that were asked when we were founded in our charter documentation, and that's significantly higher than, of course, what in the districts of those type of questions. So, and Trish has that in the foundation pieces. I think she may actually be talking about that some in the foundation.
Hey, now, are we able, are we in, or will we start to kind of keep up with what our graduates are doing in that way? It's one thing to feel these things, it's another thing to hard data show what we're actually doing and not doing.
So we just did, and what our plan is right now, we just did our senior advisors that just had their graduates. They just went through and contacted all their advisors or all their advisees and asked them where you're at, where are you right now? And so what we're planning is September 1st to September 15th every year, that being the process. And we want to do it at year one. So right after they graduate, you said you're going to go to UPS, are you actually enrolled in UPS? You know, and then year 3 and year 5. So they're not having to do it every year. They're doing it in a cycle like that. And so we hope from that we'll get that actual data. So I actually have that data, and it's one of the probably most interesting. We're at almost 60%. No, I'm sorry, that 60% was with college classes. What was the number on actually in college at this point?
42.
42% were in college this fall. So in a 4-year institution. So it was about 34 kids. So, and then we had, actually, that's going to be on, sorry. Go back. Yeah, that's the sorry. So, 72% graduates earned some college credit with an average of 12 hours per graduate, 1.9 scholarship. 33 students currently enrolled at 4-year colleges. So that's 33 out of 8 that are currently enrolled at 4-year colleges. 3 of the kids are in the military, 3 are seeking career certifications, and 3 are working jobs, currently working jobs related to internships. So we'd love to see that number go up some. As far as we have quite a few that are taking what they're calling gap years, and we're putting very loose quotes around gap year because we're worried that's a never get back year. But I will say, out of those, at least 3 of them are more than capable of college work, and I think sincerely do plan on going to college. It's just not where they're at. One of the interesting statistics that we got that we went over with Dr. Riley, which we'll talk about a little bit later, is out of our graduates, we have 79% of them that are youths. Our graduates that are attending college. Out of those 33, 79% of them. So internships, we had 170 interns on 2018-19 at 150 different internship sites. This year we're looking at 170 internship sites currently. We have 200 opportunities for students that are already sort of cataloged and ready. We also, of course, and this is going to help us start getting better metrics around our internships. We adopted the MBlaze, which is, you all are aware of what that is. It's a big picture platform that allows just a better tracking of the internship experience, and also allows students to kind of see what's out there, what's available, as well as the interviews as we discover them. So testing, administered the PSAT to all 10th graders. We're actually getting that again tomorrow to 10th graders as well as some 11th graders who seem to be on the potential for National Merit Scholarships or being National Merit Scholar finalists or semi-finalists. Gave the Aspire to all 10th graders. We started giving the ASVAB last year, and this is also Allison pushing this. Really start using the ASVAB, not as necessarily a military entrance screener, but as a college and career, because it really does have some pieces of here's where your aptitudes lie, here's how, here's sort of the metrics of how effective you are, how you stack up against others with those aptitudes. So we've been giving the ASVAB, and we did that again this year to all 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. Is it correct? We aren't getting have been giving our Wednesdays, so I don't know what's our percentage of people that have actually ended up taking it probably.
Oh, 80%.
Okay.
Good.
So that's good. And then we also gave ELPA testing to all of our ELL students. We had one student that graduated out of ELL services. So that's always a great thing. We're now speaking fluently and reading to them. So 2019 report card. This year, you all are aware, I sent an email to the board. We thought, and I gave sort of the reason behind that. We were convinced that we were going to get a B or a C. And this year we had some bad data assumptions that we were working off of, or that our analyst was working off of. And so we would have had a C if we had a graduation rate, but we don't at this point. But we did end up with a D at 60.23. As you can see, 61.09 is the cutoff there. And so, it doesn't really matter because a D is a D, but we're pretty close there. We last year had a 53.23, so there was a pretty significant improvement. We hope that, this next year we're going to have a graduation rate. As she said, if we would have just had like an 84% graduation rate, I think she said, then we would have had, and that's a really low graduation rate, and we would have had a C. So, we're just going to keep plugging away. The math is really our deficiency at this point. We had great reading results and improvement there, and so we're really trying to address that math deficiency we have. Some other little kind of miscellany. We expanded our child nutrition program to have a salad bar, which has been a huge hit. And it had a salad and sandwich bar actually. We have participated in 1A men's basketball. Next year we'll go up to 2A. We have a student that earned all state, another one that earned all conference. And the coach also was nominated for Coach of the Year, which he may get this year. We'll see. We had 2 counseling agencies that we're contracting with last year. We have a 3rd this year that we're contracting with as well. We also have the Hargrave room, which I encourage you to duck your head in. It's almost done, and that will be where we provide counseling services to students moving forward once it's totally completed. We offered a keto during A&E to students. We also are offering yoga some during A&E this year. And we also have our outdoor recreation class and a physical education class as well. And then we had last year 6 students that we identified as dyslexic and provided individualized service to them, which is amazing. We are in a huge school. Penny has to just go out and find people to volunteer to provide dyslexia services. And it's basically 2 hours a week that they're coming in. It's very scripted as far as what you have to do. It's not like you have to have an education degree or anything like that. But I mean, it's a commitment for somebody to come for 2 hours a week and do the work one-on-one with these students. And she's been able, we did 6 last year, I think we're up to 9 maybe this year. So it's, and this is, Penny gets really excited about it because you're really seeing huge progress. We had 2 kids already that have gone up 1 or 2 levels, I think, since we started this year. So it's pretty awesome to see these kids that have never received any kind of dyslexia services. They're juniors and seniors in high school, and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, I can read now. I'm learning how to read. So it's pretty awesome. Sad that it's happening this late, but it's awesome to see it happen. That's it. And those are our annual report.
When did you say that goes out? Has gone out, will go out?
I'll post it to the board. Once you all, so you approve the annual report to the public, and then I'll post it on the website.
Looks good. Good synopsis. Tells a good story.
I would say, especially, well, I guess it's just bullet points we can't articulate as much, but, with us getting this deep, and again, short, but still the D is deep, and I guess we showed that we improved, from 53 to 60, which is good. But I tell you, optic-wise, when you, on the one hand, when you see where our teachers have a real great growth mindset, and then our grades are D, optic-wise, if we're not careful, while we're giving great attention to our teachers growing, I mean, so, and again, I know everybody's trying, but just, I mean, we need to be mindful of those optics. Because if our teachers have great growth rates, and they're showing professional growth, then our grades are D. I mean, that's a, I mean, to me, it's a. The other thing is this, as we point out the demographic diversity, I hope we also can nuance that on the backside as we're keeping up with our graduates. So for instance, what does demographics look like as relates to the 70-something% that's going to college and UFAS and all that? Because again, I think, and I really do appreciate how we're tracking our advisees, because I think just like any other great institution, our alumni and their results can actually be a great recruiting tool. I mean, that's what all the great universities do, right? You know, they went here, so therefore, but for me to nuance that, because if we talk about demographics on the population, then let's also nuance, or at least let us be familiar with that, because there's some pretty striking differences demographically within the Fort Smith district that is disheartening.
Yeah. As
And
far as outcomes of where different ethnicities are ending up.
Yep, absolutely.
And the inequality gap.
Yep, absolutely. And so we need to pay attention to that. Because again, our alumni can be our best recruiting tool too. So anyway, just wanted to point that out as far as optics and then how we give attention to that.
Good point. Crystal, any comments?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, last on the voting list is the resignation of Dar Earhart.
Yeah, so Dar notified us on last Friday, Allison leaving now, that she was terminated 2 weeks notification, 25th of her last day. We thank her for her service. She's been, she's been semi-involved with some of our students in school for a few years, and we hope that she can still be a part of the community. She just felt like this was not the fit, I think, that she had.
Make a motion to accept the resignation.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, next is the administrative team report section, board training.
She put the board training in there? I think I deleted it.
It looks like we've got some opportunities coming up in the next 2 months. I think everybody at this point, Crystal, this is year 2 for you, right? So you're at 6. So everybody's at 6 hours. I believe. No notice of.
No noticeable online yet. Yeah, so I forwarded this to you all a while back, and I don't know if anybody has taken the opportunity to sign up for anything. There's no noticeable online training at this point. But I'm sure it will be coming.
I was really wanting to do the conference.
Yeah, that's
Full day.
that's the same time that you all have the chamber.
It is, so.
Hmm.
It's such a good conference. Okay, any questions on this? Pretty straightforward. Okay, strategic planning update. I know Trish sent out.
Let me call Trish in and he can. Hey Trish,
Hey,
you here?
yep,
All right, awesome.
Hey, Trish.
We are to your agenda item, so called you in timely. I didn't want to bore you with sitting around listening to us talk. So,
I would never be bored.
no, of course not. Of course not. So so strategic planning update, and Allison, you got that pulled up.
Okay,
There you go. So we have the Think Foundation year annual review. Trish.
okay, yeah, you go to page 2, that's the executive summary, so I'll talk about a few highlights. Well, first of all, thank you guys for, those of you make it to the block party. We exceeded our participation head count, so we had about 550 folks come in throughout the course of the day. And we've put out a survey looking at feedback on, for our next event, how to make it better and engage more folks. So we've got some good feedback there. I'll forward you that link. Yeah, it overall went really well. It was sort of very few hiccups, and we had people just couldn't believe. We're just so amazed at our students and their level of engagement and the diversity of our kids that were there. So Allison and Boyd did a tremendous job getting the students and the staff to volunteer and participate. So it was a really cool event. And the other, I think, highlight of the event was the diversity of the performers and the vendors and the activities all together. We had Northside High, their drum line was there, and they actually asked to take a picture with our future school kids, so it was just cool to see everybody downtown Fort Smith, the next generation of kids working together. So hopefully we can continue that and just expand it. Pulling up here.
Trish, I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. It was a ton of work. I know it wasn't always easy, and it was thankless at times. And you kept that moving forward, and you brought it together. So thank you.
Yeah. It was really, really awesome. And Claire Kohlberg with The Unexpected and Talisha Richardson down 646 downtown were critical partners with that too. So it was cool to just see it about creating a space for multiple organizations downtown working together. We did have some of our investors drop by, and they were also impressed. So we'll be following up with them and a few potentially new partners who also got a chance to meet the students. So we hit our goals on that first inaugural event. So to kind of the executive summary in this report is, I think it's about 6 pages. And how we got to this process was I did a SWOT analysis on the first year of the foundation. What were our strengths and where were we, where are areas that we want to, head in the future to improve upon. I guess I will just kind of go in order here. I mean, first of all, in the first year, we exceeded our funding goals, largely in part because of Allison and Boyd helping to secure funding with Sam Seacard and First National Bank for our shuttles, and then also Dwight Curry coming on board with a significant investment of $1 million that is unrestricted, and so we're able to use that as needed. It would cover the cost of purchasing our building, if that makes sense in the long run, once we have the final numbers in from the large foundations that are looking at giving us support. So really good position there. A key piece there that I would say, we hadn't planned on this because this is being the first time we've gone through this process, but the Wingate Foundation was very specific about requiring us to own our property in order to get funding from them, so that something that would be permanent. And so that $1 million that Dwight gave us in the middle of the summer put us in a position to be able to ask for the $3 million from the Wingate Foundation. So it worked out really well. We submitted that proposal 2 weeks ago, and they've had a few follow-up questions. We should hear, we were told in November, about their response to our request. And just to give you an update on, since we're talking about funding, we're at our next step with the Walton Family Foundation is we've gone through the vetting process for one of their financing or entities that help charters get funding for facilities, and they wanted to just figure out what we could afford. So we played around with different scenarios, looking at how the enrollment would, what would we be able to meet in terms of our market potential, and also keeping the integrity of our model. So we've been looking at anywhere between 400 and 500, just for the sake of not locking in any size. Our original plan right now is for 400 students, but just looking at the affordability, in particular for the $15 million plan that we have on the table. So our next step is I'll get on a call with Kathy Smith, who is Jim Walton's, she's now essentially his personal advisor for his philanthropic decisions, and she's been our close contact for a long time. So we'll be talking with her, along with our project director at Civic Builders, which is the financing entity. So it looks good. We're hoping they've got a number of different funding mechanisms that they've done in the past with the charter facilities, from PRIs to, cash. And so we're gonna see what the best deal is that we can get. Moving forward, the immediate goal right now is to raise the $100,000 that we need for our College for All program. We did not plan for the block party, although, it was, the benefits are going to the College for All program. Of course, it being the first event, we ended up spending, and we had anticipated this and knew this would be the case, spending more out of our marketing budget. So it's all kept within, it's actually under budget. But we still are in the need of, in the next 2 months, hopefully closing, wrapping up $100,000 for the College for All program. So I'll talk, when we wrap up here in a couple minutes, what my what my request is from you guys on just helping, connect with more potential investors and meeting with students and learning about us. And if anytime there's questions or comments or ideas, please obviously just jump in and throw it out there. The first, I'm looking specifically at the executive summary here. So we've talked about the private investment, the ability to purchase our building, College for All program. I'll say, with the fourth element of increasing partnerships, our opportunities, we really wanted to make sure we went after all the low-hanging fruit in terms of having this unique position as a career readiness program, and moving forward on that angle, specifically for funding, whether it be through strategic partnerships, but to be able to access funding for our internship program and our advising program, as those are essentially what we see in other schools, very expensive. So our data points, our metrics as a school now in year 4 are impressive for the most part to those that have seen us grow and saw us at the beginning, in the sense that we're getting these kinds of results. We graduated our first class. We have the college metrics and the internship metrics in terms of the growth of that program, and we're doing it all under what the state's doing, paying per pupil on average. So, KIPP High School in Helena, actually, they are spending, at least the last count was last year's numbers, and in terms of per pupil funding, they're spending about $18,000 per student. And I've been told, informally, now there's nothing official, but the speculation is that extensive cost, that spend on each student is for advising. And as you guys know, we're doing it for far less than that. So, so hats off to our team for keeping us on track with that budget. I'll just move into thought leadership, which is now sort of as we've been able to establish ourselves and be able to maintain steady enrollment, we can always, we want to shoot for more and to reach more kids in more districts. But overall, our we're pretty secure financially. As Boyd, has talked about, we've been reviewing that in terms of what the foundation needs to focus in on. So moving into the next piece of the summary here would be our opportunity as really one of the most diverse charter high schools in the state. And if you're seeing anything coming out of Little Rock in terms of public ed, it's making national headlines in terms of the political divisiveness right now between charters and traditionals and state and local control. So I think we have, amongst the many opportunities we have in front of us, one being to play a role as an example of what charters are supposed to be. We've said that since day one in our hearing when we got approved, that we're supposed to be a laboratory for innovation so that we can impact the larger structure at scale. I will say in our efforts right now, that I've gone in Little Rock and I'm talking to policymakers and other have funding streams for things like workforce development, career education. There's even also at the charter, at the Department of Education, their charter office, we've kind of hit the end of the road in terms of the framework that's there for schools, for charter schools to work to impact the larger structure. And that's something that, could be seen as sort of really far out there for us to focus in on, but I'm down, in my conversations, that's a part of this, which is to say, where is the mechanism for what we're doing with 70% low income student body, majority minority students, and they're getting, all the things, the career education, the career experience, the network, and the college. Where is the structure at the state level to help us share this with other schools? So those are some of the conversations around thought leadership that we're having right now. That's, I think it's a big piece of that. And then the other piece of, other two items that just point out on our ability to be thought leaders is the cost benefit of what we're doing here. We obviously can do more with more if we had more, and that would be a goal when we look at specifically teacher training and teacher preparation, trying to forge partnerships there around the state. And you can read about more of those details with the program, with the different universities we've talked to over the years. I think we're making some headway with KEFIS. Allison and Wood have really been building a conversation with them, and we're continuing that conversation on the teacher preparation programs. And there's interest from funders there too, but they just need to see a program that makes sense to them. There's been a lot of money spent on trying to get teacher training programs more innovative and responsive to students, especially those that are in the margins and underperforming, but there just haven't been a lot of results there. So we're keeping those conversations going. And my last point that I just wanted to report on is that I think, based on our metrics from our first graduating class, and looked at predictions, our projections for the next couple of grades, and then as we add ninth grade, and as we need to think about increasing our enrollment with the facility and the sort of chicken and egg that comes with having more space, needing to fill it with more students, and to have that balance, in equilibrium. I think we're at a critical turning point. The goal for me that I'm really wrapping my head around, as I've spoken to my advisors in different capacities that have done this kind of fundraising and strategic planning, is really the focus obviously being to establish our permanent facility for 9th through 12th grade. That's looking like we have more options on the table than we did when we started our campaign to start fundraising for the campus, which is great to have options. So what I'll be looking to do in the next year, and next month I'll send you guys the plan for the goals for next year and the operations plan to get there. But it is to focus on obviously funding, strategic partnerships where we share space and resources that are already existing that might be underutilized, and then increasing awareness not only at the investor level but also at the enrollment levels. One of the questions that's come up when we're talking with funders is, if you build a space for 400 kids, do you think that you can meet that demand? And I think when we look at the fact that we haven't done any specific targeted marketing or outreach outside of Fort Smith, and you've kind of, as each year unfolds, we focused on other elements of the organization to develop, that I think we can come around in this next year and really hit enrollment hard. And by that I mean really getting out strategically to the surrounding districts to start bumping up our name and recognition. So lastly, just next steps, I would like to give you jump on a call, and I'll just give you guys a call individually, or just shoot you a text and see if you've got a couple minutes next week to just more personally talk about ideas that you guys might have. Again, trying to expand our network and not going in and asking for money right off the bat, but what we've been doing with success is, as you guys know, bring in folks to meet with students, see the life of a student in a future school, and just feel the difference and hear from them, and meet with Wood and Allison as well. So if you can kind of keep in mind friends of yours or just folks in general, this is not a pitch, this is not a hard ask. It's just, have you heard about Future School? Do you know about it? And one of the things is people might say, oh yeah, that sounds great, but it's really, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, but over and over again, as Allison said at our last meeting, if we can just get people into the school, whether it's a potential student or a potential investor, and they can meet with students and just feel the difference. And Bill Hanna said last year when he was introducing us to some folks, he said to them in his own words, when you go there, you can just feel it. It just feels different than what other high schools feel like. So that is my last next step for you guys. So I'll be reaching out next week. So if you just keep in mind any recommendations that you might have or folks that could get excited about what we're doing.
Good stuff.
That is it.
Thank you, Trish. Any questions for Trish? Really well done, Trish. It's a great summation of what all we're doing in this capacity. So thank you.
Hey Trish, I do know that, I think this was at least voiced in a study session, but I heard again where you mentioned this trying to touch bases with people, invite them into the school, letting them meet staff and students, and this is not a hard ask. Do we or will we have conversations or strategies or planning around when we do have those hard asks, or do we think that not having these hard asks are yielding funds?
Well, so I've talked to a lot of people in development, and I know you guys have personally had experience. We want to just get them familiar, because it's just, when you hear high school, what we found, and I've through third parties, tried to get, a meeting with a potential investor. And when they hear school, sometimes they've said, I'm already helping other schools, I'm not interested. So we just have to get them to see that what we're doing is so different. We're not talking about, funding something you've seen before, but something that has a lot more, other value add than what we see as other programs. So that said, so in terms of strategy, we might have talked about this, this might have come up in our last meeting, but we're waiting to hear before we go back to our initial funder, our investors. I've been keeping in contact with them, meeting with them, and just keeping them in the loop. But right now we're waiting to hear back from the Waltons and the Wingates on what size of contribution they're gonna make for us. Because then we'll know what the affordability is of the plan as it stands now, the $15 million campus, or do we need to go back to the drawing table and scale it back. Right now, I know that we want to really, with our current investors and with those that we can start forming up relationships with now, before we have an ask, we want to have that ask rock solid and we know exactly what we're doing. Right now, it's still kind of high level, being at the table of these foundations. That's why I want to start building relationships so people are excited, so that then when we come around and say, all right, here's exactly what we need and here's what we're going to do with it, the Waltons are putting this in, the Wingates have put this in, to kind of let people feel like it's a safer investment.
Thanks.
Awesome, thanks Trish.
Thank you, Trish.
Thanks, guys.
Science stuff. Okay, academics.
Okay, I have
Allison?
7 things I'm gonna bounce real fast, so do it quickly, okay? We had a great meeting today with Chancellor Riley, from UAFS, came over to Future School. Thank you, Jason, for being there. Steve Clark was there. It was a great conversation about finding more avenues for collaboration with academics and potentially facilities. So we hope to sort of move that ball forward. Everything's on the table at this point, but we sure would like it if there was an opportunity for us to potentially place some students over there, especially some more older students who are expressed interest in college, willing to try it, and just need some academic support while they're over there. So we look forward to next steps with her. It's great to meet her. 2, Boyd was asked to be part of not only Leadership Arkansas, which is super fun, but the Charter School Advisory Board, and he had his first meeting 2 weeks ago. So he's been traveling a lot lately. Penny, and I are also attending the Arkansas ADE Charter Leadership Institute, so I'll do some traveling to Little Rock and we'll go to Hot Springs for that conference here really soon. So summative reason I mention that is because Future is starting to get some state level profile, which is great. On a local
And Rogue, on that, we will, Leadership Arkansas will be here November 18th. It's actually our board meeting in November. We'll be there Monday and Tuesday in Fort Smith, and all things will be over in Jason's neck of the woods, as well as on Uni's campus, out of the osteo school, and so all over. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And Future School will be featured within that. It's centered on education as well as workforce development, and we'll have students and Allison on panel, so we're included there. So we don't always get included, so it's nice to be included.
So Jason's keynote.
Jason's the keynote speaker, exactly.
I'm
Mr. Workforce Development.
I'm a host on a Tuesday morning.
Jason's gonna be going around doing what the Edge Factory guy does. So you guys get a cooler hat.
So speaking of workforce development, right next door we have a program called Future Fit, which is run through UAFS. That's been happening here on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday nights from 5:30 to 8:30. It's a very intensive workforce development program focused on a machining certificate. It's adults right now. This is the pilot. They look potentially to pilot it with younger people too. We've got some seniors who kind of have our eye on that might be good candidates for a program like this in the last semester of their senior year. So that's neat to watch that develop and happen, and to also have that relationship with UAFS continue to just expand in all sorts of avenues. On a little bit of a heavier note, we had an implied school shooting threat on the 2nd of October. Came via an app called TikTok. I was notified by a parent. And then about 2 minutes later, as I finished watching the video, the Fort Smith Police Department called me. And we were sort of handling that for probably very intensively the next 3 days. Really consumed the momentum of the campus. We gave the students an optional excused absence if they chose not to come to school the next day. We met with the young person's parent and the young person, and we included coach. The detectives were in on that. We had police presence for about 3 days. And we held a community forum, so that was a Thursday. We held a community forum the Monday after. Next door was filled with people who were concerned, kind of wanted to know what our response was. And we used that as an opportunity to really educate people on restorative practices and how we do that here. Overall, I feel like, and I said this to Jackie earlier, that was a rough spot, but what's coming out and emerging is actually more beautiful than what we had going on before. We've seen the school community embrace that young person and say, instead of ostracizing you and saying you're bad, what you did was bad, get out, they've really kind of embraced that person, brought them in, and it's been really neat to watch people just rise to the occasion. A couple little hiccups along the way, lots of emotional noise, but I think we navigated it well. I'm sure you guys saw it in the news.
Hey, also, so question in reference to that community forum, how did you all reach out to the community?
So we put it out on Facebook that we would be having this community forum, and we sent it out via Remind to our parents. That's our messaging app that we use to contact parents, and just invited all the kids and their parents and anybody else that was interested to come in. The news media got wind of it, so we had 2 channels here filming most of the time. And we probably had, what, 30?
The news also announced it.
Right, thank you.
And also, do we have a protocol as relates to, or as we relate to Fort Smith School District and vice versa? So for instance, my wife is in the same neighborhood, but of course she's in Fort Smith School District. Whenever a potential threat like that is here, or if it's the other way around, is there a relationship with us in Fort Smith School District to kind of help, or is that the responsibility of Fort Smith PD?
I believe that's facilitated through the police, and they told me that. They said that they were kind of like, is there anybody else we need to be in contact? But since it was an implied threat, so nobody was named, no date was given, There was no direct action implied, it was simply an image. The police were very clear, and the prosecutor looked at this repeatedly, that there was no actual threat, it was an implied threat. Now, had there been an actual threat, somebody named a date given, an action given, this would have been a very different situation.
Well, I just asked that because, I mean, it was serious enough that we gave our students the option. But I was just wondering, I think we need to think through if it's not a protocol going both ways. Because if something happens within Darby or Howard, I would hope they would notify us. But again, I mean, I guess based on threat level.
Yeah.
Or is that the responsibility of Portsmouth PD? And
So,
I would
that right
want
now
to-
is Portsmouth PD. I would say Allison, this is her. If you don't know, Allison's family's very military, and Allison is really good in these kind of situations, and reaching, and she's done a great job this year of forging alliances with law enforcement, and having law enforcement on our campus, and really having, the ear of local law enforcement, and she also, is in very good relationship with, the current Fort Smith security, chief,
Yeah.
Hollenbeck. And
Yeah.
so I think we have the ability probably to look at what that protocol is.
Yeah.
And I think especially as it relates to Darby or Howard.
Yeah.
That we have
Yeah.
that are our neighborhood schools.
Yeah, I mean, again, because I know we'll do all we can to protect our students within the community as we admire. So, yeah, I was just curious about this protocol.
Well, big shout out to Mr. Hollenbeck, who was hugely instrumental in guiding me that night.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great guy. Any other questions for Holland?
Yeah, just real quick, so first of all, I think he handled a really tough, delicate situation, everybody very, very well. Jackie's point, is there a protocol, this is something I need to go possibly read up on for, around our role in the process, if any, of how we're notified, when we're notified?
The board.
The board. I mean, I'm not as familiar with that, if there is anything, as I maybe should be. Not that you needed us to do anything,
Yeah.
because you clearly had it under control. I
Right.
think the involvement was due Mr. Hollenbeck, but I just want to make sure that we're fulfilling any responsibility in the process. If there
Yeah.
is a responsibility.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything
Other than maybe
codified. I
just
know at one
awareness.
point Allison, I think, said, should we know the board? We should.
You already had that written. And had it been something that was more magnified than it was, I'm sure we would have looped you into any media opportunities or anything like that. But yeah, that's a good question to ask. Maybe the ADE charter.
Board training.
I can't say all the training we've done.
They talked about.
No,
your role.
It's all more fiduciary, finance,
Yeah, I don't think you would, because really yours, because you're almost like a legislature, it's your own way the executive branch is going to execute on that.
Well, and like I said, I don't think there's anything we needed to do necessarily, yes, extremely well. Other than just continue to provide support wherever needed, so.
Well, and
If there is,
as
if there
we
is.
grow, and as people know board members also, another thing you get into is somebody knows you're on the board, a news reporter reaches out to you,
Right.
what's your protocol there, and they say, oh, I know, Jason, you're on the board, you have a statement about what's happening about X, Y, and Z, and so what sort of, that goes for a lot of things, that can go for our report card coming out, of them say, hey, I know you're president of your school board, what do you think about the deed, and all that stuff, and what's the protocol?
Yeah, and that's probably a whole separate topic.
Yeah.
Because in this case, I think it's really more our role around ensuring student safety.
Yeah.
Which obviously is a big priority for all of us. So probably something we can dig into a little bit offline. Okay.
We have 3 more. PSAT is given tomorrow. We have 15 11th graders who we feel like could be potential candidates. You mentioned that earlier, but that 15 is big numbers, so we're excited about that. 10th graders have been released to go out on internships, and we've had good success so far with young people going out. They're mostly kind of interested in of the softer skills, so we see them asking them to use the arms in schools and that sort of thing, just to get their feet wet a little bit, but that's not enough. And then the last thing, I was contacted by Fort Smith Public Schools to let me know that the Lincoln Center would be going up for sale. So that's something that we should maybe, continue the conversation around, given our athletic facilities here. There was no given price, it needs to be appraised, it was recently flooded, that's not been mitigated. Fort Smith Public is looking to try and figure out the contract that they've got right now, so we see who's in there at this moment, but they've designated it or are about to designate it an underutilized school building, which requires an entire process. They have to notify all charter schools in the area, so I was the first phone call. Then they have to notify all schools in the state that this is potentially up for sale, and then at that point, they can put it for sale. So we basically get right of first refusal. So I expressed interest in going over to see the agent just to get an asking price. But that conversation is ongoing. I'll let you hear that. And that's all I've got.
Okay. So, hi guys. As you remember, or probably remember back in July, I introduced the idea of an international trip for some of our students. And I mentioned that Panama was something that we were considering. So this has officially happened. I had my info night back in late August. I had a lot of enthusiasm from the students and the parents. The price did deter some of them away because it's about $3,000, and that includes, the 8-day excursion where, travel there, the lodging while we're there, the food while we're there, basically everything. Entrance into all the museums and sites that we're checking out along the way. So, everything seems to be going pretty well with that so far. I just wanted to give you an update. We have had 6 students that were signed up originally, and over the past week, we had 1 student who dropped out due to financial hardship. So I'm kind of trying to brainstorm some ways to maybe get that student back in if she really wants to go. I have an multicultural food night that I'm planning. I actually teamed up with the International Association over at UFIS. Nicholas Patillo has been really helpful with me over there, and we're going to team up, and we're actually going to have the event here. So it'll be on campus in our gym. We expect to have about 150 people present. We'll have a lot of international students from UFIS, some of our international students, and other community members from the school cooking international foods. It's just a $2 ticket entry, but I'll have a suggested donation box too. So I'm hoping that we'll at least get, a couple hundred, maybe 300-400 out of that, as long as we get some pretty good attendance. So that'll help us some. But I'm also kind of wanting to reach out to some of the local organizations, maybe Rotary or any other local groups that like to help students out with, things like this. But I'm kind of blind in that area. I'm not really sure where I need to be looking. I've been reaching out some. I talked to Trisha a little bit. She gave me some pointers. But the reason I'm really coming to you guys today is just to see if you know of any organizations or people in the community that I could talk to. I'd be more than willing to present and, explain the educational benefit of this trip and, how great it'd be for our students and all of that. I just kind of need some contacts, hopefully, that I can talk to and maybe get some help. But for the most part, we're good. I'm honestly only looking for, maybe $1,000 to $2,000 of help from the community with this.
And would you use that predominantly to defray the one student's cost, or would you try to lower everybody's cost, or how would that work? What's your thoughts?
My goal, so after talking to the parent of that student, I think I've figured out if they got about $1,000 towards the trip, it'd probably be okay. So that initial 1,000 or so would go to her family just because they're in that position, and they lost $500 by signing up. They can't get that refunded. So I'm trying to help them with that and find some kind of way. After that, if we have any additional events, I'll distribute out to the other students too.
Are you familiar with that talk with Reverend Gill? He has a group called Round Table. They may be able to, they may want to sponsor or support. I don't know. Is Jay Richardson in a group of guys helping out with the basketball team?
And if so, coach is involved with that, I believe.
If there is, is there an athlete that's going, I mean, that may,
Right. You have
I
some.
mean, you may be able to kind of.
I don't know where athletes are going, so I can't tie that
Well,
in.
well, I mean, but
But that's an idea.
even still, I mean, Jay's group of guys, because they're destined over here, maybe willing,
Yes,
that's just kind of like the cup those two,
okay.
who we can talk to.
Do you think the Rotary Club or any of the other ones?
Rotary, Kiwanis,
Okay,
I would reach out to both of them. There's several Rotary groups.
oh yeah, there's one for Van Buren and Portsmouth, I believe.
Actually, it's two in downtown.
And thankfully, I do have some time with this. The deadline for registration is until March. So I'm just trying to be proactive with this and helping that family out and get our families too.
So the 383 a month starts this month?
No, that actually started last month.
It started last
Yes.
month, okay.
Yeah, so the prices would change monthly if anybody was to sign up now. But I don't anticipate any more signing up. And in the future, now that I've developed that connection with Nicholas over at UFIS, we may consider going to college campuses internationally because it's a lot cheaper through these connections. There's pros and cons to that. We have a third-party organization with EF that we're using right now, and they are, well versed in sending high school students overseas. They have, very well trained travel guides, the works. So there's not a whole lot of concerns as it goes to safety or anything else, which is nice. But then cost is also an issue, especially for our population. So
But the first go around, I'd probably play it more conservative
Yes.
and actually go with more, even though it costs more.
yes, and that's
On
why
the
I'm
roads,
gonna make
yeah,
this
sure.
decision.
That's right.
Yes. Okay, well, that does help, and I'll continue to reach out and keep you guys posted on how that works out. But come to the International Food Night if you can.
And that's when,
That's November 8th.
at what time?
It's from 6 to 8. Yes, I'm getting flyers made right now.
Taylor's really wanting to not do a car wash.
I'm trying to, that's all I ask you for. So come March, if you don't have it, then we'll do car wash.
Yeah, you drive by, see Taylor do the car wash, just swing by and like drop the 10 spot or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, if we need to do something like that, I'm sure we can.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Taylor. Exciting stuff. Okay, anything else from the board? None? Motion to adjourn? So moved. Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Everybody have a good night.
Thank you all, appreciate it.